Hello guys and gals, and welcome back to another rant time. Yes, another rant time where we gotta discuss something that's been sent in to me. So, some people wanted to know about the preference on open world or linear, and it's constantly a debate here from what I see people said, and this is one of the requested topics, if you will. If you've all noticed, with the next generation PS4, Xbox One, there's a lot more open world games out there. It's sort of becoming a trend. Forza Horizon, you got Sunset Overdrive, you got Watch Dogs, and again, you know, those exist on the current gen as well, but it's sort of looking like a trend when you go next gen where you have all these open world-ish type games. Now, of course, you have games like Evil Within that are, you know, heavily linear as compared to, you know, something like Forza Horizon, but it's still a trend, and the trend sort of started late last generation too with the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. And a lot of people just think that open world games are a lot more better than linear games, and some people think linear games are so better. Well, let me tell you a little tale. See, back in the day when I was a child and we had much simpler game systems and much simpler games, there wasn't a whole lot of open world that went on. In fact, I was more of a PC gamer, so for me, there were more simulation heavy games. I still wouldn't put them as open world games. In fact, the first open world game that I really prominently remember, and honestly I have to kind of think about it, is like the original Grand Theft Autos. You know, not even on the PlayStation 2, we're talking PlayStation 1 era. GTA 2 was like the original game that I had where you could go around and pretty much do anything. Some of my buddies had it for the Dreamcast, which is a fucking brilliant port of the game. But that was really the first foray into open world. Before that, all we had were very linear scripted games. We had the Mega Mans. We had basically I had NES, SNES game. In fact, an open world game that I had were probably the RPGs that I grew up and loved: the Final Fantasies, the Chrono Trigger, the whole Chrono series, I guess you could say, even though I really don't play Cross. But there were open world games back in the day, but they weren't to the level that what we have now. You know, if you look at the open world games we have now with the worlds they craft, it's fucking gorgeous. But it also begs the question, do you really need all that? Well, see, here's the thing, alright? It depends on the game you're really pushing off. If you're playing something like Destiny, which I'm not going to say it's a bad game, but I'm by no means a huge fan. You've heard my discontent whether you show up on a stream or you've seen me mention it in a couple videos here and there, or on anybody else's stream. I'm not really a huge Destiny fan. I do play the game, but I'm not really a huge fan. The issue here is that when you play that game, you know, versus something like Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and I'm not bringing the newer Grand Theft Autos into it because I don't think they do capture the flair of the older previous title, especially with the, well, I guess I'm just a Vice City sucker, but you get what I'm trying to say. An open world game that's crafted to be open world versus something that just really has a giant world with nothing to do. Case in point, if you, I don't know if this is a really bad kind of example too, but it's sort of like some of the Assassin's Creed titles, if you will. They had an open world to it, and to be honest, the only prominent ones that I enjoyed were 2, 4, and Brotherhood. The other ones I thought was just an open world with tacked on features. But the open world idea isn't really a necessary thing unless the game is built around it, and that's really the whole thing. It's not the fact that open world games are taken over, they're better. They're not. They're only good if you put stuff around them. For example, Forza Horizon, they pepper the world with everything, and you basically have a car, you drive around, it's centered around that entire concept. Versus, again, you play something like Destiny. If Destiny were to just be individual levels that you pick and go onto, and they took out the patrolling feature, I don't think the game would have changed for me. I don't think it would have at all, because what do you do aside in Destiny when you're roaming around, you know, in the open world? Not really much to me personally, and again, I'm just saying that to me. Versus playing something like Uncharted, which is a heavily linear game. But is it necessarily a bad thing? No, because the game works in its linear format. I'm going to only mention one Uncharted game that works, which is Uncharted 2. I don't think the other Uncharted games match up. One was pretty much a tech demo to me. It was nice, but it was kind of a tech demo. 2 was fucking drop dead gorgeous, and 3 wasn't exactly one of my favorite games, but it was a very good game itself. You play Last of Us. Last of Us is a very linear game. I played it numerous times. I have it on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. Fun fucking game, but it's very heavily linear. You have games that are open world, but they really don't need to be open world. Again, I mentioned Destiny, but I'll bring another one, Rage. For anyone who's played Rage, great looking game. Runs smooth as shit. if you play it. It's one of those 60 frames per second shooter. It works well. But if that game took away its open world, which to me was utterly fucking pointless, and just gave us linear, combat situations, a la, original Doom games, or even Quake games, if you will, which is what the game is pretty much. It's pretty much what it is. It's kind of like Doom, essentially, but they gave it an open world. And if they didn't, the game would be much better. So it's not the fact that it makes it, the open world makes it better, and that's unfortunately just a trend that goes on. For example, Infamous Second Son, which is a good open world game. It definitely has a lot of stuff peppered into it. It's centered around the concept. So the fact is that linear games do not suck. If you've been around the PlayStation 2 era, most likely you've played games like Ratchet and Clank. You've played games such as, Jak and Daxter is not a good example for that, because that's a very good open world type of game. But if you've played the Sly Cooper franchise, and I'm just mentioning Sly 1, I'm not really bringing Sly 2 and 3, because those were good open world, but Sly 1 was a very good linear game. It was a hub, and you went into individual levels, sort of like if you played Super Mario 64. But it was a linear game, but it was a good linear game. It definitely had a lot going. And the fact is, linear games, a lot of people say that you can't play again because you know what's going to happen, and that's not entirely the case. You can say the same thing with open world games. Open world games, again, like Rage, you can play that game again, and it wouldn't benefit you if that game was open world or not. The open world just takes you away. You have to fucking do a billion things, and then, well, not a billion things, you just have to drive long stretches and get to your place. That's what it is. If it was mission to mission, it wouldn't change the experience whatsoever. In fact, it would enhance the experience, because it's not making you do bullshit to get to where you are. And that's essentially what I gotta say about it. You play a game like Borderlands, which I don't want to say it is open world, but it's a hub world kind of deal, but it's a good open world. It's centered around that entire concept. It's not the fact that I get these messages where people say that are open world games better or linear games better, and I don't want to insult, but it's not necessarily a legitimate question, because the thing is, it's not the game style that makes something better. It's how the game, applies itself to that structure. For example, Watch Dogs, for me, wasn't really a great open world game. It had nice concepts. I liked the hacking, even though it was very simplistic, hold, X to hack or whatever. But for me, that open world wasn't really lively enough or realistic enough. The AI didn't respond, next gen enough to me, if you will, to warrant its open world nature. I never got that feel from an open world game. If I played a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, and there are those epic police chases, there's all this stuff going on, and Grand Theft Auto is a brilliant example to bring into it, because that's essential. If that game can't be linear, let's be honest here. It's established itself as a purely open world franchise. You play a game like Fallout, and again, compare Fallout to Rage. Fallout is a game that is centered around that open world. When you put in Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, it is one of the most amazing experiences in gaming, in my opinion. You get tossed into a world where it's always dynamic, it's always full of random things that go on, you find numerous things, new places to explore, versus Rage, where you have an open world, but it's nowhere near built to what is Fallout. And again, I'm using these examples of games that I've played. I'm not going to bring in games that I don't really know much about, but that's really where we're at here. You play a game like Tomb Raider, the new one. Great fucking game. It's linear, but it's great. Linearity doesn't really affect games. And it also has to do with game length too, but game length is a whole different thing. And before I end on a note too, you want to throw in some other good open world games. There's things like Sleeping Dogs, even though for me that game sort of doesn't have a lively enough open world to me, even though it is a good game, but for me it's a little bare bones at times. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. You all have asked me what I thought of the open world versus linear argument, and here's the thing, it's all centered around what it is. So even if next gen throws in a bunch of open world type of games, which again, not every game it's throwing in is open world, again, we had The Evil Within, we had Alien Isolation, but there is a trend where I do personally see a lot more open world games thrown in than linear standard gaming experiences, which we traditionally see. But that's really it. It's not a deal breaker, but the only way that the argument really plays in is if the game around it actually works to accommodate that model. You want to talk about a game that really brings good open world? Play Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Great open world gameplay. Metal Gear Solid 5, bringing great open world gameplay. But this video is kind of droning on, but that's really what I gotta say about it. So, if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe. And please tell me in the comments below what type of game you prefer, because again, this is a topic that does divide people. So tell me if you prefer the linear traditional gaming experience, or even though open world is traditional, but do you prefer games to be completely open-ended, a la Assassin's Creed Unity, which is coming out? I'm just throwing a bunch of games in here. But yeah, so this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe. I am out!